Chase Thomas podcast. My nephew needs me to record. See, I already hate it. I hate it.
All right, hello, and welcome back to another episode of the Chase Thomas podcast. Where I'm still the aforementioned Chase Thomas, coming to you live from Knoxville, Tennessee, Everything School HQ. Joining me down there in Decatur, Georgia, the man in green himself, Matt Green, fellow University of North Georgia alumni and host of the Georgia Voice of College Football on YouTube. Matt, good evening, sir. How are you?
The man in green. I appreciate that that intro, sir. I'm doing well. You know, I've actually thought about it. You know, if I'm going for like optimal like branding, like next Georgia game I go to, do I need to rock green? Like I don't know if I could lean that much into it, but you know, maybe someone will recognize me somewhere. I don't know.
It depends on how much you want to be a main character. And Matt, you seem like because I'm this way, and I think that surprises people. Like, I'm very much more of an introvert than an extrovert, and I'm definitely like, I'm not a make a scene guy. And you going in with a green shirt at a Georgia game will draw attention. Where you're like, I don't know, do you want to answer a lot of those questions? Where people are like, what are you wearing? And then if you take pictures, they're like, why were you wearing a green shirt at the Georgia game? And you're like, well, it's my brand and this, and then you have to explain and all that kind of stuff. It invites a lot more to your life. And I don't know, like, we're both in our mid-30s now. Do we want that?
Yeah, maybe I could find some kind of Packers where like there's no color on the logo. It's just kind of a silver logo, just that G. They might make something like that, but no, it's a valid point. I'm not going to go full Chiefs-aholic or anything, you know, or one of these. I think Super Dog is one of them. And obviously there's a Big Dog, R.I.P., Mike Woods that passed away a few years ago. But there's like those Ohio State fans, you know, there's those few that you recognize. I'm not going to be like one of those guys. What is it?
Big Ed for the Jets.
Yeah.
Fireman Ed.
What are those guys?
I think it's Fireman Ed.
They have names because one of them created, like, people hate that guy because he like created a stir at a funeral, Earl Bruce's funeral or Woody Hayes' funeral, something like that. He like wore his whole get up to the funeral and like rubbed a bunch of people the wrong way. I forget, Buckeye Guy or one of these guys. The one with the mustache. I'm pretty sure. You know what I'm talking about? The hat and the mustache.
No idea what you're talking about.
People, you see like the fans. There's the one Ohio State guy that's got the like sunglasses and the mustache and like the hat every time. And there's the one that's like half silver and half red, like bald guy. You've 100% seen them at Ohio State games. They're like those big time fans.
I don't know.
But one of them people hate, and I don't remember exactly which one. I think it's the one with the mustache.
Vandy Whistler's pretty bad. I don't know if you know about the Vandy Whistler. You're not as much of a college baseball guy. Yeah, that's a tough one. I mean, but you gotta have some confidence. Like going into these stadiums and going into these games where you know there are people around you in these sections who are like, you've got to be kidding me. We're next to the Vandy Whistler. Like that. I mean, I can't even whistle, so I can't even do it on this very program. Like, I'm incapable of whistling, Matt Green. But I would move. There's no way you could make me sit in earshot of the Vandy Whistler. That would drive me absolutely insane.
Yeah, I can whistle. I can't whistle, like, make noise at a sporting event whistle. Like, that's not going to do anything.
Well, no, I mean, I physically can't. That was me saying I physically can't. It wasn't even that I wouldn't do it. I mean, both things are true. I both wouldn't. And, like, I'm not even a yeller.
You sound torn up about it. I hope you've just accepted this aspect. If you work, can you work hard, or is it an impossibility for you to whistle?
It's an impossibility. It's like me trying to wink with both eyes. I can't do that. I can do this one, but I can't do the right one. No chance. Like, it won't.
I remember. I think you can teach yourself to do things like this, because I remember 1999, 2000. I taught myself how to move the one eyebrow. Like, The Rock, it was the coolest thing in the world. So I feel like I worked hard at it and I pulled it off. So I think you can, if you believe in yourself, I think you can get it done.
I got other things on my plate, man. I can't just be like over here in the mirror trying to do this over and over again. And
well, you know, this was hours. It was hours and hours of effort. You know, I had nothing, no other responsibilities.
Are you telling me you were working on the Rock's eyebrow for hours and hours?
No, we're flapping our gums here, sir. I'm just saying. I'm saying I was a child with no other responsibilities in the world.
Goodness gracious. The more we learn about each other each and every week on this program, Matt Green, well, it is still the off season, but it'll be here before you know it, May 11th as we tape this. I mean, We got a couple more months, and college football will be back, but it's not quite preview season, but it will. It'll be here before you know it. But before we get into our national conversation here on a pod divided, Vols versus Dogs, Matt Green, we have to get into our Tennessee and Georgia portion of this program. Interesting piece in CBS Sports this week by Brandon Marcello, who did SEC spring overreactions, and he wrote about each and every SEC team and had one big overreaction take for every one of the 16 teams in the SEC this year. And I thought it would be interesting to get our perspectives on what his overreaction pick is for both of our schools. So first, to the Georgia Bulldogs, he wrote, quote, "Bulldogs receivers will be among the nation's best," and outlined why he thought that. Matt Green, when you see that after leading the country in drops last year, and you see a spring of reaction by a good college football national reporter that Georgia will have the best receiving core in college football next year, what do you make of this take?
It's certainly a bold take to go from having just such a subpar receiving group last year to among the nation's best. I don't know, what's the definition of among the nation's best? If they're the 12th best receiving core in the country, are they among the nation's best? Just saying Georgia's going to have a really good receiving core is like probably not a bold take, because the way Georgia recruits every position, they're more likely than not going to have a good position group because they recruit really well. But I mean, I don't know a Georgia fan. There's not a Georgia fan I talk to that's not excited about the receivers this year. And maybe that's because it was just so bad last year and there's so much new blood. But like, I feel like there's so many different opinions too from so many different people. Like, I think Noah Thomas is going to lead Georgia in receiving this year. He led A&M in receiving last year. He's just that big 6'6" bodies. I feel like probably going to leave us in touchdowns if he doesn't leave us in catches. But, then there's other people you talk to that are most excited about Zachariah Branch because he's the 5-star number 1 athlete, that dynamic, like, home run threat. Like, I keep going back to his numbers last year, and obviously a lot of things didn't go well with USC, but like the 10 yards a catch, I'm just like, I know he's big time 5-star, and I've seen the ability on special teams, but he's got to be more than a 10 yards a catch guy to get like really excited about him, and maybe he can be that yards after catch guy. But then there's people, shout out to my pops, happy birthday to him as well this weekend, that are most excited about Colby Young, because Colby Young was such a like reliable big body, receiver. And you kind of know what you're getting about a guy who's played, big time D1 football for 4 years. And like all three of those guys, I think could lead Georgia in receiving. And then the tight ends, I think, are about like, there's no Brock Bowers in this group, but they're about as good as you could reasonably expect a tight end group to be. Like, I think Oscar Delp and Lawson Lucky are going to be really good tight ends. So it's a super deep group, just receiving in general.
Well, I think one of the things I could see here and why they would ultimately be one of the nation's best is that, and this is one of my biggest gripes with how Tennessee handled the winter portal, not necessarily the spring portal here, was that Georgia, who, like we said at the top here, led the country in drops. It was rough, but what they did, Taylor, 5-star guy, they bring in him, Thomas Blackshear, the super speedy kid, I forgot his name, bringing him in too, and then also CJ Wiley.
Sokovie White was
Sokovie White. They brought back Nitro Tuggle before he got kicked off the team, and he's now out of the picture. But he was someone they also brought back.
I don't think he technically got kicked off. I think he just.
He's gone.
Right?
Like, he's entered the portal,
he's
right?
going to Purdue.
Yeah.
I didn't even name Dylan Bell, and I think you saw how good Dylan Bell was in 2023 as Georgia's like 4th option in the receiving game. Like, now maybe he can get back to being like the 3rd or 4th option, and Dylan Bell's really dangerous that way. So I think it's just a really loaded group, and London Humphreys as well.
Yeah. Well, and I think what your dad's pointing out with the Colby Young part of it too is going to be interesting to see how Kirby and this offensive unit balances out just the options. Like, they're going to have to rotate a pretty healthy amount, but it's also one of those where and this is like my broader point here, is that I think Georgia was active both in the portal and on the recruiting trail and even with retention. And that was the reason I brought up Nitro, is like he was a 4-star guy who was kind of coming on late, and he ends up in the portal, but like with the offseason stuff. But he was still someone who was going to be also in the mix, like, but prior to the offseason events, like he would have been in the mix to get some real snaps this year. So I just look at it of like Kirby was like, we're not having this be a problem again, because it was such a problem last year that like you said, they're all different. Like Dylan Bell is unique in a lot of ways. London Humphreys is unique in a lot of ways. Noah Thomas is unique in a lot of ways. Zachariah Branch in the slot is unique in a lot of ways. So Georgia has just so many options that even if Noah Thomas and Zachariah Branch, they don't hit, well, guess what? You have so many other options who might hit, and they're like, if Noah Thomas isn't hitting, guess what? You have Colby Young right behind him. So it's just like Colby gets those snaps, and he might be the best receiver on Georgia this year. So I think the reason I can see how this take ends up paying off and that not being an overreaction by the end of the season is that Georgia just has so many good options. And it doesn't mean they're all going to work, but Kirby overindulged, I think, in that room this offseason to ensure that it has a high floor, right?
Yeah, for sure. And I think that's the biggest compliment you can give to Kirby, like in general. It's like every time it's like, okay, this is the biggest problem. It's like by two years later, it's a strength of the team. And you can see just in one recruiting class, one off season, a problem get addressed like that. I kind of compare it to when Malachi Starks was a freshman in 2022. Like, I think Georgia's secondary was going to be, probably, one of the best in the country that year. And without a true freshman making a difference, and with a guy like Malachi Starks stepping up and just becoming like a stud true freshman, like that took him to national championship level. I think the receiving group, just what the known commodities, because that's the thing about the portal. It's like these guys are much more known commodities. Zachariah Branch, not as much, but Noah Thomas and Colby Young, like obviously coming from Miami and a year at Georgia, like these guys are just more known commodities. You look at what they have, just the guys that are going to be at Georgia, like in terms of that have played college football to this point. If just those guys do what they're supposed to do, I think Georgia could have a big time receiving core. But if one of these freshmen make a difference and actually, get, playing time, and Taylor's like a future superstar, like that could make them the best, like in the country.
So it sounds like you're leaning towards this not ending up being an overreaction. Which way do you lean after reading this with what you look at with this group? Are you leading towards?
I think Georgia should have a top 5 receiving core in the SEC.
Okay.
And I think by definition, or I think they very well could. Yeah. By definition, that would put you among the nation's best, right?
Does it not matter what Gunner is?
It definitely, in terms of production, it definitely matters how good Gunner is. Yeah. I mean, how good the passing game is. Like, that's maybe another question of like first the receiving core.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, if they're going to be widely viewed as like this great receiving core and everything, like, and they're going to have some stats to put behind it, and a lot of that's going to depend on Gunner for sure.
I mean, because that's the thing. It's like Carson obviously was a disaster for a lot of last year, but 2 years ago Carson was dealing. Like the Carson numbers, the reason he was going into last year as a preseason number 1 overall pick potentially. That helped things. Then also obviously Stetson Bennett playing at an elite level towards the end of his Georgia career. I mean, that's a part of it. Like Gunner's going to have to, like, it can't all come on the receivers. Some of it has to be, the offensive line has to be better for guys to be able to get the ball down the field so that things can develop downfield, because the offensive line is a lot better than it was a year ago. The running game has to be more of a factor than it was a year ago to take some of the pressure off the passing game. So I think there's a lot of other competing factors into not just the talent that Georgia has in that room. It's just it's a collective unit. It's a team sport, and it requires everybody to be on the same page, and it can't just all fall on the receivers. Like that group I think is unquestionably a whole lot better than it was a year ago. But I mean, Gunner has to make that leap, and like I said, like the offensive line also just has to be a lot better.
No, without a doubt. And that's why it's such a weird, like that 2024 team was just such a weird team to talk about, because like, yeah, Carson Beck had his bad moments, his bad couple games, But Carson Beck was also the reason Georgia won the SEC last year. So it's really like Georgia still did lead the SEC in passing touchdowns last year. Like they were still one of Carson Beck led the SEC in yards in 2023. Like, so it's hard to, like, obviously if you just cut down on the interceptions, like that's just a huge upgrade on just by itself, and you're not turning the ball over. We also saw Gunnar Stockton make an awful interception against Texas that could have potentially lost that game. But so it's hard to like, I think if you're being honest as a Georgia fan, it's hard to think that the quarterback position is going to be an upgrade. I think maybe Georgia fans feel like that because they just hated Carson Beck so much. But Carson Beck was really good for Georgia for most of the year, threw too many interceptions. But compared to everyone else on that offense last year, like, he was actually the best player. And I think Gunnar Stockton might not have to be as good because hopefully this receiving core is a lot better and they can actually help him out a little bit.
Interesting. On the Tennessee side of things, I thought this was pretty interesting. Easy schedule will lead to a playoff appearance. Like, well, this is a great Zag take, overreaction, because I mean, more and more way too early preseason top 25 lists are coming out, and Tennessee's not on the list.
They're 25, yeah, like 20. I think I saw them at.
I mean, some of them don't have them in at all, and I'm looking at some of these, and I'm like, all right, we're doing a lot. Like the Auburn stuff will drive me nuts, or there's just certain things that drive me nuts where I'm like, okay, you can call your shot. I understand, like it's a take game, but it's also like, all right, like Tennessee. Josh Heupel has won 19 games below average quarterback play for the most part for the last 2 years. He's lost one home game in the last 3. It's just, you have to, I mean, winning 30 games in 3 years is just really hard to do in this conference. The schedule is still great. What I appreciate about this overreaction take is that the over-under, people act, after the Nico departure, people have acted like the FanDuel odds for Tennessee has gone from 9.5, which was tied for the best in the SEC, to like 6.5 with everybody else. And that's not what's happened. They have a better over-under than South Carolina. They have a higher over-under than Florida. They have a higher over-under than Oklahoma. They have a higher over-under than these teams.
What are those? What is Tennessee sitting at right
8.5.
now? 8.5, and all those others.
So they lost one game. It went from 9.5 to 8.5 after Nico.
Were all those other ones you named 7.5? Like Auburn,
I have to
Florida,
go back and look
Oklahoma,
individually.
those type of teams?
I'd have to pull up
okay,
what they all are right now.
It's interesting though. I agreed with this take in terms of the just the plain the sentence, the easy playoff schedule will lead to the playoff appearance, but I like adamantly disagreed with the explanation. Like he says, I hate the term system quarterbacks, but Josh Heupel's offense provides the structure for a signal caller. It's like Josh Heupel's been there 4 years, and I would say Tennessee's had below average quarterback play for half of that time, you know, at least the last 2 years. So it's kind of interesting to be like, you know, Tennessee's offense is just going to do what Tennessee's offense does. And it's like, well, last year, Tennessee's offense is what held them back. The defense is what was winning a lot of those games. So it's kind of weird. Like, I'm with you. Like, I was never high. Oh, no, well, not like you in this sense. I was never high on Nico, but losing Nico, I feel like, yeah, maybe that's not night and day because Nico wasn't a superstar, but I feel like there was a chance Nico was going to become a superstar. He wasn't that yet, but I feel like that chance is what made Tennessee this dark horse championship team. I think their chances of being a playoff team are significantly worse without Nico, even though I wasn't that high on Nico, if that makes sense.
I get that. I just look at it in terms of like, to what you said, I think Nico raised your ceiling. Like theoretical Nico could be someone who wins multiple playoff games for you this year. It's year 3 in the system. Like, yes, he has the kind of talent and the tools where you could have seen certain things come together and Nico making that leap and joining one of the SEC's best and raising the ceiling of what Tennessee could be. But to Brandon's point that I agree with and that I think a lot of people nationally are missing is that it just doesn't matter. And it's not because of the system quarterback like you. He's missing what's going to happen. It's like he'll be like saying Joey Aguilar will be just fine. And he'll have some wondering if the Vols won the de facto trade with the Bruins. Okay.
That's bold.
Yeah, that's bold, but it's also like, no, the system part of it is not like the system is not what won Tennessee 10 games last year. Heupel had to throw out a lot of what he did his first few years at Tennessee and what he's done before he got to Tennessee. They were running 12 personnel more than they ever have at Tennessee last year. They were having to go 2 tight end sets because their tackles couldn't block. So they were having to do, like, their receivers weren't great, so they weren't running the downfield stuff. They weren't able to connect on big plays. They were having to be a ground and pound team in the second half. They were just handing the ball off to Dylan Sampson over and over again to just grind out wins. Like, and he relied on his defense. Like, Heupel played to his defense, and Heupel understood that defense was going to be the bread and butter for that team last year. Like, it's not. So I think what folks are missing is that, like, I agree that it doesn't come down to Joey Aguilar. Like, I think he might end up being the guy all season long. I still have my doubts with how late in the process he's coming into this and just his high interception rate. But the system part of it is that if Aguilar is a wild card and just throwing picks and just acted all like just crazy in the pocket and just turning over the ball like a madman, Heupel can still keep those guys in. Like, Milton would have thrown a lot more interceptions in 23 if Heupel didn't change the offense, where it was like, no, we're not doing that stuff over the middle of the field anymore. Heupel will adapt to what Joey Aguilar gives him. He will adapt to how Joey Aguilar plays in his system, where he's like, all right, well, we're not doing that anymore because I'm not throwing picks. I'm not having a turnover problem with my scheme. We are going to rely on our defense that still should be one of the top 10 to 15 best in the country again. Tennessee's always going to be able to run the ball. They've averaged 5 yards a carry all 4 years under Heupel. They're going to run the ball again this year. So I just think they have a high floor. And I think that's what a lot of people have missed, is that, like, they have a high floor. And I mean, I just pulled up the FanDuel odds. Like, the amount of teams that are still ahead of...
The schedule is a big deal, though.
Right.
Like, I think if we were talking about this team playing Florida's schedule, I think we'd be talking about maybe them going to a bowl game or not. Like, I think
it's probably more 7-5, I would say, if it's Florida's schedule. The reason that you can talk yourself into 9-3 with this Tennessee team is because of the schedule.
For sure.
But I also do have so much optimism still in this defense. I think this defense is going to be pretty nasty, and it's just loaded with blue chippers, and they're deep, and they're going to rotate, and they are going to knock the crap out of a lot of people. I think Peyton Lewis and Deshaun Bishop and Star Thomas and DeJuan Morris are going to be a really, really good running back room, and we're going to have a good rotation there. I think the tight ends with Kitzelman and Ethan Davis will be really good. I think the offensive line should be solid. Like, there's a lot you still like about this group. And I just think Tennessee has a really high floor. Like, I still just don't think the bottom's falling out. And if Aguilar is a mess in the first month, like, he'll go to Jake or he'll go to George. And I think it's going to be a real competition this summer. We don't even know who the quarterback's going to be for Tennessee against Syracuse on August 30th. So I don't know. I appreciated the optimism take here, where it was like, I've seen too much, where it's just driven me nuts, where I'm like, people have really lost their minds in terms of what Tennessee's going to ultimately be. Yeah, the ceiling got changed without Nico, but the floor did not. The floor is still very high with this team, and I think people have lost their minds nationally with where Tennessee's at.
Yeah, it's interesting. I think if Florida or Oklahoma are good, I think that changes things. I think a 10-2 Tennessee is like a lock for the playoff. But I think if there's a scenario where if Oklahoma and Florida are like 6-7 win teams, and Syracuse isn't good or something, that Tennessee doesn't beat anybody good all season. And who knows, maybe you get penalized for that by the end of the year. Like, Miami was a 10-2 team. They weren't in the SEC, but they were a 10-2 team that, didn't have a good schedule and missed out on the playoff a year ago. And they had the Heisman Trophy winners. They kind of had some like feelings, some bias kind of in their favor, and they still got left out.
I mean, for Tennessee to finish 10-2,
he wasn't the Heisman Trophy winner. Sorry, he was the runner-up.
If he was to, if Tennessee was to go 10-2, that would still require Tennessee winning a game that Heupel has not won yet at Tennessee.
On the road?
No, he not in at home. Like, he hasn't beaten Georgia at all, and he has to beat Georgia. He has to get to 10-2 this year. Tennessee would have to either beat Georgia for the first time ever, win at Tuscaloosa under Heupel for the first time ever, or win in Gainesville under Heupel for the first time ever. Like, that he would have to do one of those three things, and then also be perfect the rest of the way. So that's why I like even before the year, I'm like, you can't expect the CFP season for Tennessee until they do and those are three difficult things. Like it's not, I mean, he's gone 2-2 against Florida and Alabama, and Tennessee has struggled, obviously, in recent years against Bama and Florida. But it's like you have to, if you're going to be a playoff team this year, like, and go back to back, like you would have had, even with Nico, it was going to be hard to win one of those games for the first time in the Heupel era.
Yeah, and looking at their schedule, like you can say this doesn't matter, but I think it does in terms of just people's subconscious. Like how the schedule is, you have Georgia week 3, but you get all the way to week 6 without playing any of your real difficult games. So if you just start 5-1 and the one loss is to Georgia, like that team is probably ranked like 8th. You know what I mean? Like they're going to be up there for the stretch run, and like maybe that bias is seen a single digit next to their name for a few weeks, but obviously you have at Alabama, Oklahoma, and then Florida super late in the year. I don't know. Florida, I was really like, they took Georgia, Auburn out of November. I got over that. I kind of liked Georgia, Tennessee being that new November game. Now they got rid of that. Grinds my gears, sir.
That's fair. But to put a bow on it, Texas A&M 7.5, South Carolina 7.5, Oklahoma 6.5, Missouri 7.5, and Florida 6.5, and Auburn 7.5.
I think I should head to the casino on that Oklahoma 6.5. Man, they're going
over or under.
That. They're going over that.
Are you that confident in Oklahoma?
No,
have you seen that schedule?
No,
what has Brent Venables shown you?
That team's winning 7 games.
How are you that certain about Oklahoma in 25?
That defense is pretty solid, and it's Brent Venables, John Mateer. Who knows, man? I think there's not a lot of proven quarterbacks in the SEC right now. He's one of the.
He's not proven either.
No, he's not. But he's one of the most proven. He at least has the starter experience of put up huge numbers last year.
I mean, yeah,
Washington State wasn't exactly playing a Pac-12 schedule anymore, but I don't know. I think they're one of the more proven quarterbacks. That's all I'm saying. Because you go down the list of proven SEC quarterbacks, like DJ Lagway's like second or third on the list, and he is not proven at all.
Can I give you this, please?
Give me what?
Texas at South Carolina, Ole Miss at home, at Tennessee, at Alabama, Mizzou at home, LSU at home.
Ooh, like that's a lot.
I mean, what are we doing here? You're locking in 7 wins?
I think they're winning 7 games.
Michigan at home early?
It's a great number.
All right. You know what's going to be the huge game is the Auburn-Oklahoma game on September 20th is the one that will decide like who's the chaos team this year in the SEC.
What's that?
Auburn, Oklahoma on September 20th in Norman. Because both those two teams, like they're at 7.5 and it's like, or 1 7.5, 1 6.5, where if there was going to be one of those breakout type chaos teams and there's a lot of pressure on both those coaches, I think it's a big one for both sides. And I think whoever wins that game probably is like an 8-4 or 9-3 type team.
Yeah, I could see that. That was a chaos game last year too. That was so many turnovers. Yeah, I was kind of thinking the same thing about like Florida LSU. It's so early. Like that team feels like that's like week 3. One of those teams that's going to be like a dark horse. It's like it could be off to a good start there.
Matt's Minute. We were texting this week, Matt Green, and you had just a devastatingly bad take about the Egg Bowl that will be played at 11 a.m. on Friday, the day after Thanksgiving, which I saw, thankfully, the reaction on social media
Central time, though. So like the standard noon kickoff.
I mean, that's still terrible. Noon on a Friday for the Egg Bowl. The Egg Bowl, should never happen during daylight. We used to be a proper country, and the fact that the Egg Bowl ever got moved to daylight is an absolute monstrosity. Thanksgiving is already a great day. The Egg Bowl was this perfect final thing. It's also great exposure for Ole Miss and Mississippi State because you have no real challengers there. Friday is kind of jam-packed now with college football. There's a lot of competition there, and people it's gonna be hard to sell to the family, hey, I'm watching college football from noon to 11:30 p.m. The day after Thanksgiving. But you know
gotta
what you
get
don't have to
yourself
sell?
a new family, sir.
Well, hold on. You don't have to sell on Thursday night, Thanksgiving night. Everyone's had family day, and everyone's had, we're all full and we're lying down and we're just, hey, enjoying what was a great day. And then we pop on the Egg Bowl, which is this awesome, hated rivalry, bitter rivalry, always a weird game, and that's how we capped off the day. It was a great night. I love the Egg Bowl. I grew up on the Egg Bowl. The Egg Bowl belongs Thursday night. But not only are you not putting it on Friday night, at least, like a night game, you're putting it on during the day. You're putting it on at noon, 11 a.m. Central Time for Ole Miss and Mississippi State fans. What are we doing, Matt Green? And you have the audacity to be like, oh, I'm okay with it. Like, hey, it's fine. Like, it's fine to just push the Egg Bowl to a game time no one's going to care about, no one's going to be invested in. Part of the amazing tradition of the Egg Bowl was that it was on Thursday night. It was a Thursday night thing. I watched every minute of the Egg Bowl. I will not be watching every minute of the Egg Bowl this year, and that is entirely the broadcaster's fault. And I am very much angry about it, and you don't seem to be. And I'm shocked as a college football aficionado as yourself.
I'm not going to say I, was responsible or, preferred this game to be on the Friday, but I will say the NFL owns Thanksgiving. Let's just be honest. The NBA owns Christmas, although I guess the NFL is going to take Christmas because they want it. But the NFL owns Thanksgiving. And that's the thing. Like I said with Christmas, if the NBA wants something or if the NFL wants something, they're going to take it. And they want Thanksgiving, and it's theirs. And so for Black Friday now becomes this bonus college football Saturday we essentially get after Thanksgiving, and we kick that day off with the Egg Bowl, Mississippi State and Ole Miss. I'm sorry, but Mississippi State Ole Miss is not a Friday night kind of game. It's just not a Friday night kind of game.
It's a Thursday night kind of game, Matt Green.
It's usually Thursday night, but we kick it off Thursday, Friday night, Black Friday's games. I remember my group text with my friends a couple years ago, like every once in a while, everyone's watching the same game and you're texting about it if it's a big game. Everyone was locked into Iowa, Nebraska at noon, like whatever that Black Friday was. It was like a 6-3 game and like into the fourth quarter.
This didn't happen.
It absolutely happened, dude, because it was like it was a crazy game. I can't remember what exactly happened, but it was like, this game is amazing right now. This Iowa-Nebraska game. And everyone was watching it. No one would be watching Iowa-Nebraska in prime time on Thanksgiving.
Yes, they would.
But on Friday, not if they're competing with the Broncos and the Cowboys or something.
Hold on. There's all kinds of folks who are much more likely to be tapped into Thursday night Egg Bowl action or Nebraska, Iowa, if they're big time college football fans, especially SEC fans, they're going to watch that over Broncos versus Raiders. Like 100%. There's so many people who are going to still choose that. Like you and I are going to choose that on a Thursday night.
No, that's true. That's facts. We're diehard. But I'm just saying, I think the exposure of being on Friday, like, if I feel like that Black Friday, like college football is trying to take it. Like everyone's off work this day. It's an extra weekend day. Like let's go. Let's do it. Let's make this an extra college football day.
I don't like it.
13-10 Iowa won that game. It was a classic. Three turnovers for Nebraska. It was a good old fashioned slobber knocker.
Well, I mean, the game was at 3:30 Eastern time last year, so they're moving it back even more, and I don't even know if that's a positive, but it's been played on Thanksgiving 23 times from 1998 to 2003, and then 2013, and then 2017 to 23. And I just want to know who's responsible after 23 and move it off. Like I just need to know. I just want to talk about it. Like what happened here? Because was there a poll? And I also want to hear from like Ole Miss and Mississippi State fans. Do they prefer a Friday type of game so that they can spend the evening with their families on Thursday night? Like, is that part of it?
People in Mississippi want to spend some time with their family on Thanksgiving.
But that's what you're doing today. And like, what if that's your thing? But what if you end your night by the Egg Bowl? Like, you're gonna watch it anyway. Like, if you're gonna watch it, I don't know.
No, I don't hate. Obviously, I always watch the Egg Bowl on Thanksgiving night. Like I'm with you. That's the tradition. But I think just a full day of college football on Friday, kick it off with the Egg Bowl.
They don't need the Egg Bowl.
I don't
I'm
mind
already
that at
watching a
all.
lot of college football on Friday.
That would be one of the better games. There's not usually great games on that Friday.
Well, we have to
It's
take
some
Georgia Tech
rivalries
off
that are
because y'all
low-key.
ruined last year's Friday night game. That game going 7 hours and never ending, and Kirby calling timeout every single overtime period.
It's one of the
You
games
should be
of the
banned.
season.
Like Georgia should lose privileges. Georgia Tech loses Friday night privileges. We need to y'all get the noon slot because I think you got that a couple of years ago, right? Wasn't Tech
Well, Georgia Tech's been at noon for like 15 years in a row before this past year, just playing on Saturday. I'm all about Georgia
Do we
Tech
know when that game's going to be yet?
It's Friday this year.
No, I'm saying, do we know if
sure
it's another night game or no? Do we know
Yeah,
yet?
it's got to be, right? Mercedes-Benz Stadium, you got to put that thing at night. Especially how intense it was last year. Well, I'm here for it.
I don't know, man. I would still put a ban. Like, justice has to be served for me having to watch 5.5 hours of Georgia Tech on the Thomas family sofa on Thanksgiving, the day after Thanksgiving last year. I mean, like, this game's never gonna end, and Kirby just trolling me, timeout after timeout after timeout, and all.
Hey,
that.
Kirby just playing within the rules. That's what the rules allow to timeout each overtime period. You got to take that timeout.
Oof. Program report. Continuing on here, Matt Green. The Kentucky Wildcats. Is this a program coming off a 4-8 season in decline? A program that is poised for a bounce back after the blip last year? Or do you think it's just still, hey, every now and then he's going to have a clunker, and then Mark Stoops will get back to 7-5, 8-4 type of deal? Where do you lean right now with where things are headed in Lexington?
Yeah, I think in general, I give Mark Stoops a lot of credit for just raising the floor like he has at Kentucky, but I don't know. It feels like they feel more irrelevant than they ever have. Like under Mark Stoops, it like even when they were having their good seasons, like no one really talked about them like they were a true contender. Even though there's years they got to November as like a top 10 team, but no one really thought they were that legit. Now they're just kind of. No one's even thinking about them. I mean, I think they're literally going to be 16th in the media poll to finish in the SEC this year. Like they're worse than Vanderbilt. They're worse. They at least Mississippi State. I don't know. They at least got Jeff Lebby, so there feels like there's some hope for the future of Mississippi State. It feels like everything's just going downhill with Kentucky right now. Like I would have told you 2 years ago, Mark Stoops is the coach for Kentucky however long he wants to be. Like he's just got like the best gig out there. Like he's got a school that was never competitive at football being consistently competitive at football. And, however long he wants to be there, he'll be there. Now, I don't know. If they start missing bowl games and things like that, I think that's kind of where the benchmark is at Kentucky.
Yeah, I think it's over. Like I think it's just this like Stoops has got to get out of there, man, or it's just going to keep adding up. Like they've recruited horribly the last 3 cycles. He's 18-20 in his last 3 years. Like he almost, obviously the whole Texas A&M dance before last year. That was weird. And then he's just back, and you're like,
that, yeah.
And it's bad. And I don't know. I forgot who I was listening to. Maybe it was Tom Fernelli on the Cover 3 podcast talking about like him if Iowa's DC retires. Like that's the best spot. It's like him go to Iowa, go be DC for a couple of years, and the coach in waiting for Ferentz when he retires and take over Iowa because of his style and everything else. And he's in Iowa.
Hey, Iowa's trying to win games. He hasn't won
he's
games
an Iowa
like
alum.
at Iowa.
If I remember correctly. Yeah, I mean Iowa's gonna be good this year, man. You don't have to tell me. I'm an Iowa supporter here, but yeah, he's a former Iowa player. But I just think it's bad. Like Zach Calzada coming back to the SEC, another guy who's been in college forever. He's been good at Incarnate Word for the last couple of years, but was not good at A&M, which feels like forever ago. Goes to Auburn, never see him due to injury and other stuff at Auburn. And then
Sugar Hill, Georgia in the house, though.
Yeah, he went to Lanier, right? He was a Lanier guy. Huge. Like, he's huge. Like, Zach Calzada is what's he, 6'8"? I feel like he's gigantic, if I remember correctly.
6'8", is he?
Zach Calzada is gigantic. What is Zach Calzada? Okay,
Oh,
by 6'8", he's 6'4". So
6'4". Talking about Brock Osweiler over here.
dude, he's huge. Zach Calzada, if you like, vibes alone, 6'8". Vibes alone for Zach Calzada,
It's 6'8"
absolutely.
energy.
He's got 6'8" energy for sure. He's a gigantic dude. But I mean, you miss on Brock Vandegrift last year, and that was a big quote unquote offseason portal game. And they go through what, 3 different quarterbacks last year, and the offense is a disaster. Bush Hamden comes in as OC. He's back. They go super heavy in the portal this cycle. They lose Barry and Brown. They lose Dane Key. I mean, there's a whole makeover on offense for sure. I don't know, man. I think Kentucky's going to be awful this year. And they were awful last year, but they also had a weird win. They win at Ole Miss and spoil Ole Miss's college football playoff dreams in Oxford. And it's just like, man, if they don't steal that late, they're 3-9. And it's, I mean, what is the, like, Stoops is making $8 million this year. I like you said, I think if you had asked us 3 years ago, we would have both been like, yeah, I mean, Stoops probably has that job for as long as he wants. Like, he's just probably going to keep that thing humming to an extent where he can ride it out for as long as he wants with the basketball school and everything else. Now, I don't think that's the case. Like, I think this is, if he goes 3-9 or he's worse than 4-8 this year, or he does 4-8 again, I don't know, man. Like, that's tough. Like, and it's an ugly 4-8. That team was ugly last year. And I don't know. I don't know if Kentucky do better, but the thing that's looming that makes me think they can, and it would probably be a fair assumption to make, is John Simmerall did not get a job this past cycle, and he's a former Kentucky linebacker. He's doing really well. He was at Troy, now at Tulane, was really good there this past year. If you think you can get John Simmerall, if Stoops doesn't do well this year, I mean, that'd be a pretty great hire for Kentucky if that was how things unfolded for them after next year. But yeah, I feel like we're nearing the end. And if I'm a Kentucky football fan, this is miserable because I don't know how you talk yourself into this year. I think Kentucky's just going to be awful again.
Yeah, I'm with you. I mean, Mark Stoops, Kentucky has 4 10-win seasons in school history, and Mark Stoops has 2 of them. So, what
was the last 10-win season?
The last one was it 2021? 2020. Yeah, 2021 they went 10-3. I mean, 2018, I mean, that they were playing a mid-November game against Georgia to essentially win, to decide the SEC East. Like, I mean, that was big time as far as what Kentucky football has been. But I mean, that's basically as good as it's gotten. So I don't know, 4-8 last year after 2 7-6 seasons the last 2 years. I don't know. We'll see how much longer that lasts, but it doesn't feel like, I haven't looked at their schedule. I don't have that right in front of me, but I don't know. I not too confident in Kentucky this year.
No,
Zach Calzada, I don't think is the savior.
No, I do not think so either. Buy or sell. This was something that was kind of popping up on Twitter last week. I saw Ohio State or LSU. Which one is the real wide receiver to you, Matt Green? Because I wonder if we have the same answer here. Because I saw the general fan response, and it seemed like a lot more people lean Ohio State. But I go LSU. Which way do you go, Matt Green?
Yeah, Ohio State, people live in a, what have you done for me lately type of world. And Ohio State's got 5 first-rounders in the last 4 years. And Jeremiah Smith looks like the best one they've ever had right now. But LSU just is the OG wide receiver. Like, they produce superstars. Like, the fact that they have the literal 2 best receivers in the NFL right now, and like you had like Jarvis Landry was never like one of the best, truly like top of the top, but Odell Beckham was. Like, he was right there at the top. Jarvis Landry was a star receiver for sure. But this past year, they had 4 of the top 7 dudes in receiving yards in the NFL. Like, and literally the top 3. I think Brian Thomas was 3rd behind Jefferson or Chase and Jefferson. Yeah. So I feel like I got to give it to LSU, and because a lot of those first round picks Ohio State's had haven't even been good in the NFL yet. Like, I would say Garrett Wilson has been like a star to this point. Like
Yeah.
Olave,
He's been okay.
Has Olave been good? He's been top
okay,
10
but
pick
it's
good?
also like kind of been bad situations. Like Olave, I mean, the quarterback situation in New Orleans has been bad of late.
That's true.
Michael
Garrett
Thomas was
Wilson
really
hasn't had a
good
good one.
years ago, but he couldn't stay
Michael
healthy.
Thomas, yeah.
But that's been a while, and he hasn't really been a factor in a long time. Terry McLaurin, I think, has found his own, and he was good last year for Washington.
He's one of those that wasn't a first rounder, but it's been good.
But outside of that, I mean, San Antonio Holmes was a long time ago. Like San Antonio Holmes, and like you said, like it's more recent. Like I think obviously with Jeremiah Smith, he should be good. Obviously at the next level. I mean, you need Garrett Thomas to, I think, or Garrett Wilson, excuse me, to continue to come on. But JSN's got to kind of break out. It's a big year for him in Seattle.
And Marvin Harrison Jr. was like the 5th best rookie receiver. If maybe lower than that, if you want to throw Bowers in there.
But then you look across,
several rookies better than him last year.
Yeah, and then you look over there, and it's like Justin Jefferson, maybe the best receiver in the NFL. Jamar Chase, right there. I mean, I
think Chase is the best right now, personally.
Yeah, but I mean, you had Odell. The Odell run was obviously big time. You go up and you look around. I mean, Kayshon Boutte did not. Dwayne Bowe, man, that's a name I've not heard.
Ruben Randall.
Jarvis Landry, I don't think gets enough credit. He had a good long NFL career.
I feel like they used to produce like guys that were like 2nd, 3rd rounders.
Yeah.
That just off of their like raw athleticism because they just never had a good passing game, but they were just like, yeah, you'll probably be good in the NFL. Like, I don't think Dwayne Bowe had good numbers or anything, but he ended up being like a late first, 2nd round pick or something. They had some quarterback issues in the 2000s in the Les Miles years, but yeah, I got to give it to LSU. I guess Ohio State. Are we going to go all the way back to like Terry Glenn, Chris Carter,
Ted Ginn Jr.?
Yeah, Ted was. I mean, he wasn't even that good in the NFL.
No, but it's. I mean, how early do you want to go back? Like we can get who else? Michael Clayton for LSU. Was Devery Henderson the one who caught the Kentucky Hail Mary?
Yeah.
Was that Henderson?
Devery Henderson. That's another one. Devery Henderson, I don't think he put up stats at all. He ran like a 4.2 something. Yeah. So he was like a 2nd round pick. He may have been a 1st round pick, actually.
Well, and the thing is, like, it's one or the other. Like, you could sell me on there being some real battle there, but I think I still just lean LSU. And I also think it's still, I mean, they have the number 1 receiver committed to them right now in the 26 class, and Tristan Keys out of Mississippi. So it's not going away. It's not like LSU has fallen off in that regard, and it's still regarded as a obviously cool place for receivers to go play and develop at. So yeah, I don't know. When I think wide receiver you in college football, I lean LSU. I think Ohio State's obviously coming, and Jeremiah Smith makes it a lot more intriguing here, but the top, I think of wide receiver U as like the best of the best. And we've seen like the Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson, and some of the more recent like big neighbors have just been LSU. And obviously part of it's just that 2019 team was just absolutely insane. So that kind of changed things a little bit.
Yeah. Dwayne Bowe was the 23rd pick of the draft. Devery Henderson was the 2nd rounder. He was the 50th pick. Michael Clayton, we didn't even name. He was a 1st rounder back in 2004. So LSU.
Also, DJ Chark went in the 2nd round not too long ago. So he's in there.
Yeah, DJ Chark. Yeah. Terrace Marshall. Yeah, they've produced a bunch. So I got to give it to LSU. And Alabama, it's like they're just too good at everything that they can't claim one position you. Like I hear Alabama, they're just like, oh, we're really running back you. Oh, we're really DBU. And it's like, yeah, because you guys work in an NFL factory for like 2 decades. Like you've produced everything. Like, so Alabama is just kind of not part of this conversation. That's my official ruling. They could be literally any of these, honestly. Like you look at the running backs Alabama's produced, the receivers Alabama's produced, like that one picture that's got like the 4 first rounders in it on one team. Like their like elite history is basically as long as like Ohio State's is, or like a little longer. It's kind of a recent, like last 5, 10, 15 years or so. I feel like Julio Jones kind of set that up. Like ever since Julio, I feel like they've produced elite receivers.
That's fair. But don't count out USC. USC's kind of lost in the shuffle, but they've always been right there too over the last 25 years. as well. Matt Green. This is something I've been thinking about this week, and obviously cousin Sam, FSU alum, have some FSU alums in the family. But Florida State, right there at a CFP, finishing the season 12-0, gets to 13-0, and something happened in the bowl game that you remember fondly, Matt Green, for that Florida State Georgia battle.
It was not a 13-game season, folks.
No, it was not. But Matt Green, they then go 2-10 last year and completely fall off the map. And
what was the score? Like, not even talking shit. What was it? Was it 63-3?
I mean, it was something bonkers. I don't remember.
They win. It was some. Okay, go ahead.
You're the Georgia man.
I think I'll look that up. I think it was because it broke. It was worse than TCU, right? It was a bigger, and that was 65-7. I want to say. That's stupid. But go ahead. I'm not even like talking. Oh, is that good? Did we break it? No, but
what is that movie? What is that? Oh, is that Grandma's Boy with Nick Swartzen? Where it's like,
yeah.
It's like, exactly is that good? Is it when he's on Dance Dance Revolution?
Yeah. Did I break it?
Oh my god, great cinema in the early 21st century. But now you're in this middle ground. You bring in Gus Malzahn to be the new OC. You bring in Thomas Castellanos over there from Boston College. You've had the highest of highs and then the lowest of lows in back-to-back years. And now it's like, I don't know if, like, what do you tell Florida State fans this season, Matt Green, in terms of like, what is a realistic expectation for the Noles and what should they expect out of Mike Norvell and Florida State in 2025? What's a fair one that's like both reasonable and also like, hey, you're still Florida State. You're still one season removed from being one of the best teams in college football. Like, what? I have no idea what the thing to say to them. Because like when we think about hot seat and stuff and expectations and all that, like you can make some pretty obvious cases. I can't find a more difficult like 2025 realistic fair expectation for Florida State to like determine whether or not Mike Norvell has got Florida State back on path and things are okay.
No, I'm with you because I mean, like we talk about them like they were a 1 year like wonder, like they weren't obviously like the national championship contender necessarily for multiple years, but like this team went 10-3. They finished ranked 11th in 2022. Like, so there were all the signs are pointing to this being an elite team, what they did in the portal for 2023. And then you were that. So it not only was that an elite team, it appeared that Florida State was becoming one of the elite programs again. And then to go from 13-1 to 2-10, I've just never seen anything like that. I think someone said that someone has done worse. I think it's like the second war, like -11 is like the second worst one season to the next win total. I don't know who the first is, but I heard someone drop that stat the other day.
That was their worst season since 1974.
Like, it's insane. Like, I've never heard of a down season being 2-10. A down season is maybe you miss a bowl game. Even that is kind of unheard of for some of the powerhouses, So to drop all the way to 2-10 is just insane. So it's like, I don't know what's on the board, at 2-10, everything's on the board. So would it surprise me if Florida State was 9-3 and they were in the ACC championship because of kind of a wild ACC or something? Like, that wouldn't shock me at all. Would it shock me if they missed a bowl game? It would shock me if they were 2-10 again, honestly. But if they missed a bowl game after going 2-10, like, you can't be that surprised. But I don't know. It's just, I assume Florida State has better players than that. That's why I assume they would never go 2-10 in the first place. So I don't know. I everything still has to be on the table, I guess.
It's so hard because, like you said, I mean, they finished the previous 2 seasons before last year's debacle, the highest ranked ACC team in the country. They won 23 games in 2 years. Mike Norvell has basically won everywhere. Like at Memphis, he got progressively better, and then at Florida State, he got progressively better. And year 4 was the breakout year, and year 3 was still really good, 10-3. And then for everything to fall off a cliff that way, I don't know. Like, Gus Malzahn, I think, is an interesting hire. I'm curious how much of a change that offense, because that offense was an absolute mess last year. Obviously, with DJ Uiagalelei, did not work out, and That was just, I mean, you're losing to Memphis at home. Like, it was ugly. Like, it was just bad, bad, bad. And I remember you and I were talking about it, like, they opened the year in Ireland, right, against Georgia Tech. And we thought it was like, wow, what a big win for Georgia Tech. Like, what an upset. It's like, oh, that game was not what we thought it was going to mean for both teams later on. And it was like, oh, what a big win for Tech. And I was like,
and wasn't the fan supposed to eat the dog turd or something like that? Isn't that what happened to the Florida State fan if they would started if they, like 0-4, 0-5 or
I
something?
forgot it.
Yeah, they like deleted his whole account. Like, oh man, it's like that's gonna be, you know, the black mark on Mike. That's gonna be the mark on Mike Norvell's legacy. Is gonna be that fan, the curse of the dog turd or whatever. But
you look at the schedule, Matt, they open with Alabama. Like, I think that one is just like at home, which is nice. And I'm glad that it's in Tallahassee at the Doak. But I mean, that is a huge, like, you can't get embarrassed there. Like, that is one where you've got to show signs of life, and like there's got to be some fight there. And it doesn't mean you have to beat Alabama in week 1, but that could not be like 49-3 coming out. And like then you're like, uh-oh, this train's off the tracks, and this might not get back to respectability, because Florida State is still one, even in the ACC and everything else. It's just one of those jobs that, like, 2-10, man, that's unprecedented. Like I said, worst season since 1974. Like, you can't just you're going into year 5 now. Like, you can't just be like, well, 4-8, 5-7. We're building back. We're getting back to respectability. It's like, no, you're Florida State, man, and we're in the transfer portal era. Like, you got to be like 7-5, 8-4. I think, to get fans back on like, okay, we calmed the storm. That was a blip, and we're gonna be okay. But 6-6, 5-7, like, I mean, you're Florida State. I understand things change over time, and they're not what they once were, but I don't know. Like, this schedule, it's a weird schedule to me, because I think every game just looks obvious outside of Miami. They get Miami at home on October 4th, but all their home games, you kind of see which way the wind's blowing, and all their road games, you're like, man, they don't have any coin flip game really at home, because they go to Clemson, they go to Florida, they go where's the other one, at NC State, and it's like, man, you needed a couple of those maybe to be at home to give yourself a chance, but a lot of the big ones are on the road for them this year. But you also look at it, it's like, it's not a terrible schedule. At UVA, Kent State at home, East Texas A&M, at Stanford. Stanford's going to be awful, most likely. Wake Forest should be awful. You get them at home. Virginia Tech, it's been rough. Big year for Brent Pry. That's at home. I don't know. It looks like a 7-5 type year to me when I'm looking at the schedule. Maybe 8-4 if because a couple things go their way. But I guess you're okay with that if you're a Florida State fan. But you're still like, I don't know. Like, Norvell was in the running for Alabama before last year, and then they went 2-10, and you're like, I don't know if he's going to have this job in 2 years. It's crazy.
No, that's wild. And losing to Memphis too, like, just insult to injury there. But yeah, I don't know. And is Thomas Castellanos, like, is that the guy? Is that the
he got benched mid-year?
Yeah. So I mean, is he gonna be the starter for Florida State?
I think so.
Yeah, we'll see how that works out. I don't know.
Speaking of starters, final thing here tonight, Matt Green, new QB starter take I wanted to pick your brain on. I've been thinking about Fernando Mendoza, who was really good at Cal last year. Big transfer portal addition for Indiana as they replace Curtis Rourke, who was really good coming in from Ohio a season ago. Guides the Kurt Signettis to the college football playoff and hosting a college football playoff game this past season. And when you're looking around the Big Ten and the Big Ten quarterbacks who are returning and all the turnover up top, I was thinking about this. Like, could he be one of the best or the best quarterback in the Big Ten this year? Like, Fernando Mendoza was really good at Cal last year, and you look at it, true freshman quarterback at Michigan. Drew Aller hasn't exactly just run with that opportunity. It's like, I'm the best quarterback. Dante Moore, we have no idea what he's going to be at Oregon. Redshirt freshman, and Julian Sam, most likely, who hasn't proven anything at Ohio State. You kind of look around, and I'm like, we're all writing off Indiana as a team that can't go back-to-back college football playoff appearances, but I'm looking at the Mendoza edition. I don't know, Matt Green. Are you as optimistic about Mendoza at Indiana and him actually being an upgrade over Rourke, and Indiana maybe even being better than they were a season ago.
Yeah, I mean, I could see him being one of the better quarterbacks in the Big Ten just because, like you just named, all the inexperienced quarterbacks in the Big Ten this year. I guess Luke Altmaier, I guess you're going to just disrespect this guy, and not even name him. Illinois is a sleeper this year.
Yeah.
But
that's a big game. They play each other. Like, that might be a CFP elimination game.
Indiana's just such a hard team to evaluate because, like, you look at Curtis Rourke's numbers from last year. Like, I would be surprised if Fernando Mendoza puts up better numbers than Rourke did, but their schedule was just so soft. It was just unbelievably easy. They were obviously a good team. They went 11. They go 10-2. That's good. They go to 11-1 with that schedule.
11-1.
Ohio State, the only game they lost.
Yeah,
right?
They went 11-1.
And 11-2, I guess, then lose to Notre Dame.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how to evaluate them. Their schedule is actually going to be, more legit this year. You got like 3 or 4 kind of toss-up games on there this year. I think they play Illinois. I think they play Penn State. They play Michigan this year. They did play Michigan
at Iowa.
Year.
Will be tough.
Yeah, there's definitely a few more difficult games they have on this year's schedule. So I don't know. I would be surprised if he puts up better numbers than Rourke did a year ago.
70% completion percentage just about last year. He won at Auburn. Huge win for them. 3,000 yards passing, 7.8 yards per attempt, 16 TDs, 4 picks, 144.6 quarterback rating. He was slinging it for the Golden Bears last year. And like you said, the schedule is definitely a little bit harder than a year ago. But you get Illinois at home, which is huge. And they should be 3-0 going into that game. And then you go to Iowa right after. That's a body blow. But then you get a break before a bye before going to Oregon. Like, if you go 2-1 in that stretch, I think they're a college football playoff team. Because then you get Michigan State at home, UCLA at home, at Maryland, at Penn State. That can be your second loss. Wisconsin at home, and then at Purdue, who shouldn't be good. Like, I think that's a 10-2, 9-3 type schedule. So I think Indiana's going to be right there again. So I think anyone who's expecting, Indiana was all scheduled last year, I think Indiana and Fernando Mendoza and company, they bring back their top receiver from a year ago. They've done pretty well in the portal this cycle. Curtis Ignitti is a really good coach. I don't know. I don't think Indiana is going anywhere. I think Indiana is going to be one of the better teams in the Big Ten once again. I think people are writing them off.
Yeah, I might be in that group, to be honest. I think if they lose at Oregon, at Maryland, or at Oregon, and at Penn State, I'm just not sure how many good wins they'll have on their schedule if they do go 10-2. 10-2 with that schedule is probably still good enough because at the end of the day, the committee just kind of ranks records, Like,
well, it's also the power too. 10-2 in the Big Ten or SEC, it's just you have an advantage.
But they would have to beat Illinois, like you said, at Iowa. Maybe Wisconsin's good. Maybe Wisconsin's terrible. I'm not sure, but we'll see.
Yeah, I don't know. I just I think I would be careful to write off the Hoosiers going into 2025 and just penciling. I've seen a lot of just like, oh yeah, we're just gonna swap out Illinois for Indiana, and I'm like, hey, not so fast, my friend. I'm not sure about that.
Coach Sig wins games. That's what he does.
That he does. Matt Green, what can the good folks check out from you over on the Georgia Voice of College Football this week?
We'll actually be taking the week off this week, sir. We might get on for an emergency pod, with Jackson Cantwell, number 1 offensive tackle in the country, committing on Tuesday. But my guy Bo is graduating from UGA, so we're gonna take this week off. But we'll come back to the people. Yeah, like I said, we might jump on for some Jackson Cantwell stuff and come back at the people next Tuesday.
There you go. Matt Green, always a pleasure, my friend, and I'll talk to you again next week.
Yes, sir.
All right, we're back here on the Chase Thomas podcast, where I'm now joined by a first-timer, the head football coach at Hardin Valley Academy, the Hawks, Tyler Wynn. Tyler, good afternoon, sir. How are you?
I am doing well. Good afternoon to you. I appreciate you having me on.
Thank you for being here. I mean, it's we're now in the middle of May here. Where are you at in your off-season program at this point?
We're in the middle of spring practice. So we've got a week left. Really, we got 4 days of practice left. We got Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and then Friday. We're going to give them Thursday off, but we finish up this upcoming week on Friday.
Has it flown by? Is it flown by? And also, has it been a really good spring for you guys?
I think for us, it's been really good. Season ended early November, so just having that time in the weight room and seeing the guys in the off season has been really, really good for us. We've grown up a lot, so it's been a quick process, but it's been very beneficial for us.
Now that this is year 2 and this is your first like actual off season, because you get in last year, you don't know what you're walking into, and this year you have a full season under your belt. You have a full season of a lot of guys just knowing you, have a lot more familiarity with just everything about Hardin Valley. How has that knowledge changed how you approach this off season versus last?
Well, it's funny. This is my third time taking over a program, and I think with having done it before, I kind of have a different outlook than some guys might. So year one, that first year really to me is year zero. All right. It's setting the foundation, setting the groundwork, kind of establishing practice habits, how we want to do things, how it looks in the weight room, how our off season is planned out and scheduled, and what we want to do. And then seeing, these are all the hiccups of what you thought you could do where you're at. And then going into year 2 really is the first time that you've got a clear vision of, all right, this is the school I'm at. This is the community I'm at. This is what I have been dealt. And these are things I can use to build moving forward. So it's been a really good process. A lot of changes for me, not in a bad way, just structure of how things are done in Tennessee. They're done differently than they are in Georgia. And, understanding the Tennessee schedule, those 2 weeks off in the summer. It's the first time I've had, 2 weeks right in the middle of the summer where you're off and you're not doing anything. That dead period was totally new for me. So how are guys going to come back? How do I need to adjust my calendar to make sure our guys are getting to the point we need them at, right there at the beginning of the season? So it's been some adjustment, but going in this year, I have an understanding. Like I know what to look at, and we've made changes to our schedule. We made changes to our calendar. I've added coaches to the staff, and we've done some things that I feel like are going to be beneficial for us moving forward.
That's interesting. I mean, I've always found this to be really interesting, because you're talking about like going and having the year zero mindset, and I think that I think for fans, that's always kind of hard. I think if you're someone who going on Friday night to explain to them that this is year zero, that I understand you want to look at this as year 1, but it's just not. It's not like that. This is not your first rodeo. You've started over at programs, and like that's just. It's not the. It's just. I understand like you want it to be that, but that's just not the reality. Was that something that's gotten easier over time? Was that something that you found last year was like, okay, I got. People are on board. They understand that this is a year zero, that we got to get through this year to figure some stuff out, go through our lumps, and then we'll be in a much better spot in year 1.
Well, being at Hardin Valley, I mean, there's been numerous coaches here in the past 5 years, 6 years. You've had multiple coaches. So I think that the community was kind of starving for a system and a long-term goal. And that's one thing that we tried to come in and establish, that, look, we're going to do it like this, and we're going to do it like this for a long time. And that's where we're going to see the results at. It's not going to be overnight success. I had a meeting with the seniors when I first got here, telling them, guys, right now, you probably are not going to see the success that we want to see here at Hardin Valley. You're not going to see it. But one day when we're going to the playoffs, I want to invite you guys back, have you on the sideline, and you be a part of what we do. And I had a good group of guys, a really good group of seniors that bought into what we were doing, understood that, it's a marathon, it's not a sprint. I may not see a single result this year from all the hard work I've put in, all the time, all the effort, all the energy, but I'm paying dividends to the future, right? we try to build our program on 4 core values, resiliency being number 1, because guys have got to be able to adjust and grow over time. The second thing is investment. And that's something we kind of demand from our seniors. We demand it from everybody, but our seniors are held to that investment piece. You know, how much are you willing to put in, even though you might not be the one to get the result? That leads straight into selflessness, which is another thing that, you know, in today's society, everything is about me, and, you know, my name, and I want everything. I want all the glory. We try to, you know, instill in our guys, it's a we over me mentality. And then the last thing is effort. Our guys gave great effort this past year. Sometimes we saw it. Other times, you know, you didn't see it. You know, it's easy to look down at the scoreboard and go, man, that team, they must not be very good, or they must not be playing very hard. Or our kids they played their tail off. We had some guys step up in big moments and do some things that I was extremely impressed with, extremely proud of. And I was proud of the product we put out. We got a long way to go. But our guys understood that, you know, building that foundation of how we're going to do things leads to success in the future.
Knowing what you know now with how the 2024 season went for you guys, what would you tell yourself going into week 1 last year?
Continue to grind. Continue to grind. Good, as Jocko says. I'm sure you've heard some of the Jocko stuff. I mean, when things go wrong, good. When it's not going well for you, good. Because it's going to make you better in the long run. And just, you know, a lot of times, everybody, myself included, you want to see results, and you want to see results immediately, and you want it to happen fast. That's where we're at, the society we live in. That's who we are as, you know, just humans. You want that instant gratification. And sometimes I have to speak to myself that, hey man, it's a long haul. It's all right. And, you know, hold your water. Everything's going to be all right. I don't think we hit the panic button. You know, one thing that I was proud of our coaching staff, our players, is, you know, I've been through losing seasons before, right? Taking over programs before and struggled to get things going. And sometimes when you're in the middle of that struggle, you start questioning what you're doing. You question, man, maybe this wasn't the right thing to do. Maybe this isn't how we're supposed to do it. And you start trying to make changes middle of the season, and, you know, week 8, we're in a different offense.
You're panicking a little bit.
Offense, and you're panic. I was really proud of our guys that, no, this is who we are. This is what we're going to do. This is how we're going to do it. We're going to continue to grind. We're going to continue to show up. And, you know, that stuff has paid off dividends. I mean, I'm looking, you know, just today, I watched some spring practice from last year, right? And compared it to spring practice this year to see, all right, what do we look like? Where are we at? And, you know, we're leaps and bounds ahead of where we were. But it's because we continue to do the same things over and over. And I think that's how, you know, you build things over time. I've been fortunate. You know, I think this is a community, an administration, a school that understands Hardin Valley has not had success. You know, we haven't had success here in a long time. So understanding that it's going to take a little bit of time to build, you know. So our guys are full board, and I was proud of us as a staff and our kids that, you know, we just continue to grind and continue to do the things that we believed in and things that we believe are going to lead to success in the future.
When you look, I mean, I think you've got an awesome attitude about all this. And I think it's so interesting to me because, like, building a program, because now with the portal and everything else at the college level, it's just building a program is just getting harder and harder and harder to do. But when you're able to pull it off, you're still seeing those dividends pay off all across the board. And I think, I mean, one of the best examples of this is, I mean, honestly, the military academy at college. Like, part of the reason that Navy and Army, I think, had good years last year, and they might be a quiet winner in the college transfer portal era, is like they don't have to deal with that. Like, they're one of the few teams that are averse to the roster turnover, and they have continuity, and continuity is such an important thing. When you're looking at these guys and you're telling them, like, hey, look, the wins and losses aren't going to be here this year. The wins are not going to be here this year. Like you said, you're not going to see the dividends pay off here for you guys, but the freshmen, sophomores, juniors even that are coming through here, they're going to see it a little bit more, but you're going to help get us there. You're going to help set this program up. When the season's actually playing out, though, because that's something that's easier in the summer. That's easier in the spring to sell. But when you look, y'all schedule that y'all had, which especially towards the end was pretty brutal. I think we can agree that it was pretty brutal.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would just go ahead and say brutal. Like, there's just no way around it. Your region's brutal. The schedule is brutal. Like, there's just, let's not dance around it here. How do you keep those guys like, hey, what I said at the beginning still holds true. And if you keep doing these things, like, don't worry about the scoreboard, don't worry about this, just keep getting those reps, because that's the program that you don't even realize that you're building for those guys behind you.
Yeah, I would totally agree with you. It's real easy to come in and put it on a PowerPoint, put it on a presentation. This is who we are. This is what we believe. One thing that I found, just from, I've done it a while, right? So this is year 16 for me. And I was fortunate enough to work under Shelton Felton at Valdosta and work with him. And one of the things that we did there is we had a team chaplain come in every day, right? And he talked for 5 minutes before we started practice, or we actually did ours in the morning, but he came in and talked to us for 5 minutes. And he just kind of reiterated that same message day after day after day after day. And that's one thing that I took. Coaching's all about stealing stuff, right? So nothing's new under the sun. So that was one thing that I said, all right, I'm going to do that at my next stop. I'm going to do that at Hardin Valley. We do a 5-minute session before practice on Monday, and it's about resiliency. 5 minutes before practice on Tuesday, investment. 5 minutes before practice on Wednesday, selflessness. 5 minutes before practice on Thursday, effort. And you continue to preach that message. You continue to hear that message. And over time, guys know what to expect. And they understand that, hey, man, Monday is Resilient Monday. I got to show back up, even if it didn't pan out on Friday night. Tuesday, I got to continue to invest. Wednesday, it's about the guys beside me. Thursday, it's about playing fast, having great effort. And they start to understand that, you know what, it's bigger than football. It's bigger than this year. It's program. It's not today. It's about forever, right?
It's interesting. Like, I'm a Georgia guy by nature, so I went to Parkview. So Powerhouse. I grew up on Powerhouse football. Like, I was on the sidelines at 12 years old for Jeff Francoeur and Parkview going 3 straight, not losing a game with Cecil Flo and company, and seeing some absolute dudes run through. Caleb King and Sean Dawkins, Joey Sturdivant, like, just so many guys. Like, you just take for granted when you're a kid. And I'm just like, I knew that what I was always going to do. I was going to get into this. That's why I still have the Friday Night Lights itch here years later, is that, like, I grew up on it. It's just hard to explain to people who didn't grow up around it. So the Battle of Five Forks was my jam. But when you're talking about Valdosta and all that, it's just Titletown. Like, I'm at, like, 2 very different histories from Valdosta and South Georgia football to here in East Tennessee and that kind of thing. It's hard to explain to someone who hasn't seen both sides, but it's something that I love, that you're taking things that work for Valdosta that you can apply to Hardin Valley, because I think that's the same with writing and podcasting and radio. Is like, no one's reinventing the wheel. Like, we all have our own, like, you're naturally going to put your own spin on something by, like, reading. It's just like Stephen King has a great quote: if you don't have time to read, you don't have time to write. Like, that's how it works. Like, you can't have one without the other. So, like, the best coaches are always pulling from other coaches. Like, that's how it works. Like, you need to learn from the best. Like, that would be silly not to, but it is, I think about just Valdosta and Lowndes, and I mean, where that area, my friend over there at Colquitt, and I mean, it's just it's a process, though, and that's a program. I mean, Colquitt over there with Sean, he's built that thing back up, and Carrollton's obviously one. It took time to build. Niblett at Gainesville took some time to build and got some buy-in, and they're rolling now. But man, it takes time, and I think that's if you have that year zero to, hey, like, if we do this right, we can get there. But like, all the best programs all around the South, like all around the Southeast, whether it's in Georgia or Tennessee, they all have to start somewhere, and you have to buy into the program, or it's just not going to be sustainable.
Yeah, I think, you talk about some of the story programs, Parkview, all right? Like, I watched Jeff Francoeur catch a slant, run over a free safety, and take one to the house, 80-something yards. and I was younger, and I remember watching it and being like, dude, if that guy can do it in football and baseball, so can I, right? And so when it came time for me to make my college choices, that guy had an influence on me he didn't even know about, right? When I went to Carson Newman, it was one of the only places that was going to let me do both. So, but it was because of guys that had gone before. And, you know, there's story programs where they're building things and you see growth over time. That's, you know, one thing for me, I loved my time at Valdosta. All right. Loved Coach Felton, loved our staff, loved those kids, loved that community, loved the expectation every week that we're going to win. We're putting our best product on the field. The standard is the standard. This is who we are. We set the standard for the state of Georgia, right? Loved it. I also really, really loved the challenge of trying to get a place going in that direction, right? You're
a builder.
And you know, some people are fixers, right? And that's my niche, because I love the challenge of, man, why are you going there, coach? You know, you're leaving Valdosta to go to Hardin Valley, and they haven't had success. Why would you? Because they haven't, and because I want to see it be successful. Does this work other places, right? I love the challenge of it. So, you know, you see what good people are doing, what great staffs are doing, and can you apply that everywhere and have the same results, right? So we may not have the same 5-star athletes as some places, but I really do believe that at any of those programs you just mentioned, it ain't all, they got some stars, but it ain't all about those star players. It's about the kids who have bought into the program and are doing things year after year after year that are making those programs special. And, you know, in today's era where, there is a high school transfer portal, right? Like there are high school kids who jump around and go places. You know, that stuff happens, okay? But there's still a core of kids that grew up in the community and they're doing it the right way and they're going about it. And those kids are the ones that deserve success, right? If you build a good product, people will come. So like stuff like that, you know, I'm good friends with Joey. So Joey at Hilton, you know, we played ball together at Carson Newman, still following. When I was at Valdosta, that's who knocked us out of the playoffs. So I go out there and shake his hand before the game, and I'm like, man, you got to be kidding. So having played for Coach Sparks at Carson Newman, you know, he did it right. He loved his players, you know, and he held them accountable, and that's all I'm trying to do, and make our guys understand that, you know, it's not all about football, man. It's everything that you do in life, and football is a huge piece of who you become as a man. So, you know, that's why I got into coaching, the impact that coaches had on my life, and, you know, building it is one of those things that I love the challenge of trying to do at a place like Hardin Valley. So,
final thing, and we'll get you out of here, Coach. I'm always curious in terms of like so year one installs, right? Like you don't really know what you have. Like you're coming in January, you have a brief idea. You can watch some film from last year and see kind of like what you're working with, but it's still just kind of like, I got to see how they handle my system. I got to see how they handle what I'm comfortable with. Were you able to install a lot of what you wanted to do schematically last year, or is this year the one more fans are going to get more of the Tyler Wynn schematic experience this year?
From a scheme standpoint, you know, we'll do a lot of the same things we did this past year. You know, we're not going to look different. The place that I think you see the most benefit in year two is your weight program. And so for me, I take a lot of pride in building our weight program and, you know, seeing our kids grow in that room across the way, right? Like even more so than on the field. I absolutely love the weight room and love seeing the growth that guys can have. It's one of the only places where you can see true tangible results over time from strictly investing in it. So for me, I think the biggest place you'll see a difference is just in our strength and our size. We'll look different. Like our guys get off the ball a little bit differently because they're stronger. We hold blocks a little bit longer. because we've had a year in the weight room of doing it the way I want it done, right?
Yeah.
And so from a scheme standpoint, I was in a situation where offensively we had 2 returning starters, and defensively we had 2 returning starters, 2 guys that had played the year before I got here that were going to continue to start as seniors. So from a scheme standpoint, we were kind of able to make it our own with the guys that we had. Now, they were puppies, played a lot of young guys, played a lot of sophomores, 3 sophomore starters up front on the offensive line.
Man, that matters in that region. That shows up.
It does. It shows up real fast. And in any region, right?
Yeah.
So, not to, we saw it in non-region games, especially early in the year where we're going, man, our guys are they're not ready yet. And they weren't, but what else are you going to do? You're going to give them what we do. Here's how we're going to do it. You guys are going to see progress through the season and get better and better. We're going to take time in the off season and continue to get better and better. And then we'll start to see results on the field, that second year. And there's still a big gap, right, between where we want to be and where we're at. And we know that, our kids know that. But the expectation of building it is you got to start somewhere and you got to stay true to what you are and who you are, what you believe in. And we're going to continue to do the things that I believe in until they come in and say, hey, Coach Wynn, we need your keys. It's been nice. We're going to do it the way that I want it done. Because at the end of the day, it's going to be me who my name's going to be the one in the paper. Hey, why can't you win games? You got to go move and go somewhere else. So at least I can say we did it the way I want it done. And that's something, it takes a little bit of time and experience to truly be okay with that we know we're building it the right way. Are you going to give us the time to do it?
I love it. We'll end it there. Tyler, this has been great. I appreciate you making the time today. And we'll have to check back in closer to the summer. And when we get, hey, regular season will be here before you know it, man. Like August will be a couple more months and it'll be football season here in East Tennessee once again.
I think everybody's ready for football season. I really appreciate you having me on.
Thanks, Tyler.
Nicely done, nephew. The Chase Thomas Podcast. Hell yeah.